Todd. Wow, finally, 16 times the detail, 25 years in the making. You know, what I realized is that it's been 8 years since Fallout 4. 8 years, and it's gonna be another 8 years until Fallout 5. Hit the like button and subscribe, baby, if you're not a sissy fairy. Because only sissy fairies like confirmation bias, right? Because why is it every time I go on YouTube, you can never get an honest reaction towards something? You either get someone who wanks off to Phil Spencer's nudes every day at 4 o'clock, or you get someone like this who looks like a literal Skyrim frost troll. But forget about all that, it's time to talk about Starfield, and Starfield doesn't look like trash. Because there are some naive dweebs online who are proclaiming that it's so bad, and they're totally wrong. For the reason that the idea that I could stay on a planet and play in that theme, like for example, it'd be great to play an old western on a murky orange tinted desolate planet for a while, and then fly over to a medieval style planet and roleplay Skyrim. That literally makes my underwear sticky. But guess what? No pre-orders for you, Toddy boy. You and Shaggy over there can say whatever you want, but you're not gonna pull a fast one on me, because this is either going to be the greatest game we've seen this decade, reigniting those nostalgic Bethesda feels, or it will be exactly like Cyberpunk 2077, full of bugs and barely any meat on the bone. No in between whatsoever. It's going to be one or the other. And if Bethesda manages to deliver what they showed yesterday, then this looks like my type of game. It felt like No Man's Sky plus Mass Effect Andromeda plus Deus Ex Mankind Divided plus Skyrim plus Fallout 4 were placed in a blender and thoroughly mixed into Starfield. It has all of the essence of sci-fi universe. Before this deep dive, one of my biggest questions concerning Starfield was the lack of any sci-fi space powers. I know, I played too much Mass Effect growing up, but they really did tease a bit of that. With his hand being held up and gravity changing, that gets me pretty hyped up. Another big concern of mine was the gameplay they first showed a couple of years ago looked pretty shaky to me. I mean, matter of fact, the movement looked really stiff. But now after looking at this showcase, they tweaked it and it does look better. I don't know, I've only seen it like once or twice. It might be because they showed more gameplay, but they definitely took feedback from the last trailer. Because before, the only combat that they showed was very slow and honestly pretty generic. But now it looks much faster, more smoother, and way more intense, not to mention the fact that it looks much more satisfying. And I can't be the only one who noticed that the gameplay looks and feels very similar to Halo, almost as if they modeled it after Halo or Doom. Anyway, look, I've seen a lot of people complain that they're not able to fly seamlessly from space to planet, then planet to space. And that is just a big, huge miss from Bethesda. And I gotta be honest, I don't give a This is a game for people who want the lore of Bethesda in a true space game of this scale. Not for Star Citizen or Elite Dangerous fans to have another pilot simulator. It's a lore and exploration RPG. You can make the point that exploring a new place while flying a couple of meters above ground, slow or fast, is one of the coolest things in space sims, and you would be right. But the thing is, Starfield isn't a space sim. Stop calling it that. Starfield is a game with actual features and depth, whereas Star Citizen is a shell of a space sim that might be complete before I'm dead. Sure, would it be nice to just have to fly 1 kilometers in a direction without having to leave the atmosphere? Or use a fast travel option? Yes, absolutely. But I would also like to clone Selena Gomez 1700 times and have my way with her until my dick breaks. But we all know that's not going to happen anytime soon. Anyway, like I said, that whole flying from space to planet and planet to space is not a deal breaker for me. I'm totally fine without it. Having said all of that, only exploring a planet by foot is just silly. Space exploration, if anything, is all about spaceships, colonies, and rovers. Where are my rovers at? Skyrim had rideable horses. I get that Fallout didn't have any vehicles, but this is a space game with flying ships and 1,000 1,000 different planets. It would be extremely odd if there wasn't a way to cover distance quickly while on land. Whether that's a rover or a buggy or some sort of alien mount or both. Look, either way I can accept no atmospheric flying, but it's extremely odd that there was no buggies or any type of vehicle shown. Maybe they'll be in the final game, they better be. You know, maybe the game isn't about exploring planets. Maybe it's about exploring point of interest on said planet. I'm assuming the procedurally generated planets are going to be places where you get those crafting materials. It kind of makes me think of Mass Effect 2 with the probe system, but instead you need to go to the planet manually to gather the goodies. And if this does have procedural generation on a massive scale, that is reason to be concerned. Don't get me wrong, there are some games that do it really well, like No Man's Sky. But at the same time, procedural generation means that things like level design, one of the most important things about a game, are left entirely up to fate and the algorithm. And that just doesn't sit well with me right now. But my expectations have been tempered to say the least. While I see great potential with the base game and the endless DLC opportunities, or mods like Star Wars or Warhammer or even Star Trek, I'm certainly going to be cautiously apprehensive until I get my hands on it. And on that bombshell, there's actually more I want to say as pertaining to the frame rate or the ship customization, etc. Let me know in the comments if you want me to make another one of these, because I've written way more down. Manix out.